Gotta make this count. Time to spin and win. This shot's for everything.
Hey everybody. So I guess this video has been out for about a month. I just thought that this was kind of an important topic to cover, and it kind of also shows why perhaps we shouldn't trust politicians to make sane decisions on behalf of their constituents, especially when it's things that are like not even in their wheelhouse. Like, you know what I mean? Like it would be like your grandma creating political policy on the latest iPhone. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, I thought we would go over this video. Uh, it's a fairly important topic, and I feel like there's a little bit more that I can say to expand on top of it, and basically give everybody a better idea of what all this actually kind of affects.
38-0. Not a single dissenting vote in either chamber of the California legislature. You know what they unanimously agreed on? A law that forces every operating system to build a real-time age verification API, threatens developers with $7,500 fines per child if they don't comply, and then lets users verify their age by just typing in whatever birthday they want. No ID, just the honor system with a surveillance infrastructure attached. Let me read this to you, because I need you to understand how cooked this is. California's Digital Age Assurance Act, AB 1043, signed by Governor Gavin Newsom in October 2025, requires every operating system provider in California to collect age information from users and account setup and transmit that data to app developers via a real-time API. Every operating system provider, not social media apps, not websites, operating systems, the foundational software that makes your computer work, Windows, macOS, Android, iOS, and this is where it gets absolutely unhinged. Linux distributions and Valve SteamOS. They just legislated a backdoor into the kernel, and I'm not being dramatic. Let me keep reading. The law's broad definition of an operating system provider: anyone who develops, licenses, or controls the operating system software on a computer, mobile device, or any other general-purpose computing device. Any other general-purpose computing device. Do you know what that means? A Raspberry Pi, a router running OpenWRT, a fucking calculator emulator, and I'm not making that up. There's an open source HP calculator project called DB48X that literally added a commit to their repo banning California users because this law technically classifies their calculator as an operating system, a calculator. But let's stay with the main article for now because it gets worse. According to AB 1043, OS providers must maintain a reasonably consistent real-time application programming interface that categorizes users into 4 age brackets: under 13, 13 to under 16, 16 to under 18, and 18 or older, and hand that signal to any developer who requests it when their app is downloaded or launched. So now your operating system, not a website, not an app store, your actual OS has to maintain a live API that broadcasts your age bracket to every single application you run. Discord wants to know your age, it pings your OS. A random indie game pings your OS. Your terminal emulator, in theory, yes, it could ping your OS. This is surveillance infrastructure baked into the foundation of your machine. Developers who receive the signal are deemed to have actual knowledge of their user's age range under the law, which shifts legal liability for age-appropriate content decisions onto them. If your app receives this age signal from the OS, you can't claim ignorance anymore. Even if you ignore the signal, even if you don't give a shit what it says, the law says you know, and if a kid sees something inappropriate, you're liable. Penalties for noncompliance run up to $2,500 per affected child for negligent violations and $7,500 for intentional ones, enforced by the California Attorney General. $7,500 per child per intentional violation. So if you're a solo dev running a small open source project and some 12-year-old in Sacramento downloads your software and you didn't implement this API and the Attorney General decides to come after you, you're potentially bankrupt. And before you say, well, just don't distribute in California, yeah, we'll get to that. Because that's exactly what some projects are doing. They're geo-blocking an entire state because complying with this is impossible for volunteer-run software. But let's talk about the absolute funniest part of this law. The law does not require photo ID uploads or facial recognition, with users instead simply self-reporting their age. So you're telling me that this entire surveillance framework, this API that has to broadcast age data to every app, this thing that's going to break open source development and force Linux distros to either comply or blacklist California, relies on the honor system? You just type in a fake birthday. That's it. That's the whole thing. Assemblymember Buffy Wicks, who authored the bill, said this avoids constitutional concerns by focusing strictly on age assurance, not content moderation, in a press release. Age assurance, not age verification. Assurance, because verification would require actual ID checks, which would get instantly struck down as unconstitutional. So instead, they built a Rube Goldberg machine of APIs and liability transfers that accomplishes nothing except making it harder to run Linux. And the best part? The bill passed both chambers unanimously, 76-0 in the Assembly and 38-0 in the Senate. Unanimous. Not a single person voted against this. Not one legislator stood up and said, "Hey, wait, do we understand what an operating system is?" Now, to be fair, despite signing it, Newsom issued a statement urging the legislature to amend the law before its effective date, citing concerns from streaming services and game developers about 19 complexities, such as multi-user accounts shared by a family member and user profiles utilized across multiple devices. Oh, so now you're concerned about multi-user accounts after you signed it? That's like setting a house on fire and then suggesting maybe we should have checked if anyone was inside. And here's where the Linux community is just completely. Enforcement against Linux distributions, however, is likely to be problematic. Distros like Arch, Ubuntu, Debian, and Gentoo have no centralized account infrastructure, with users downloading ISOs from mirrors worldwide and can modify source code freely. Right, because Linux doesn't work like Windows. You don't log into Linux HQ when you install Arch. You download an ISO, you install it, you create a local user account on your machine, and that's it. No cloud, no central server, no API to hook into. These small distros lack legal teams or resources to implement the required API, so a more realistic outcome for non-compliant distros is a disclaimer that the software is not intended for use in California. So the actual outcome of this child safety law is that open source operating systems, the most privacy-respecting, user-controlled software on the planet, will just abandon California users entirely. Congratulations, you legislated yourself into being a second-class citizen in the open source world. Now let me read you some of the actual legal text, because it's somehow even worse when you see the bureaucratic language. Account holder means an individual who is at least 18 years of age, or a parent or legal guardian of a user who is under 18 years of age in the state. Okay, so the account holder has to be an adult. Cool. But again, what fucking account? I don't have an account with Arch Linux. I have root access to my own machine. Age bracket data means non-personally identifiable data derived from a user's birth date or age for the purpose of sharing with developers of applications that indicates the user's age range, non-personally identifiable, except it's tied to your device, which is tied to your hardware, which is tied to your purchases, which is, yeah, it's personally identifiable. They just don't want to call it that. Covered application store means a publicly available internet website, software application, online service, or platform that distributes and facilitates the download of applications from third-party developers. So that's the Google Play Store, the App Store, the Microsoft Store, Steam, FlatHub, AUR, every package manager. Wait, does Pacman count as a covered application store? Because Pacman is just a command line tool that downloads software from repos. Is the Arch user repository legally required to collect age data now? Operating system provider means a person or entity that develops, licenses, or controls the operating system software on a computer, mobile device, or any other general-purpose computing device. Any other general-purpose computing device. That's the catch-all. That's the part that sweeps in everything from a gaming handheld to a smart thermostat to, yes, a calculator emulator.
So I'm gonna leave this here for just a minute. I'm just gonna leave it here for the video. If you want to watch the rest, you can swing on by their channel. I'll leave it down in the description. That way you can go swing by and if you want to watch the rest of it. But kind of what I wanted to point out is just like he's saying right here in the video. What I think most people like, this is gonna be the dumbest thing, right? So like, now, if you buy a house in California, I'm going to have to go age verify my thermostat. How does that make sense? Like, because here's the thing, like, technically any standalone device with software, even your modem, your router, a Raspberry Pi, I mean, your thermostat, if you have like one of those smart home dongles where it's like it's like a hub that connects throughout your house and basically just makes it to where you can tell Alexa to turn your ceiling fan on or whatever. That has an OS. So now you have to buy like a visual peripheral and a keyboard and mouse so you can go inside of the software and uh, ID verify, like put in your date of birth or whatever. Like this law is the definition of actual idiocy. Like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever read in my entire life. And the reason I say that, and I'm not saying this to be mean, personally, I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom. I think that man is like, just get rid of that guy. You know what I mean? Like, this is the type of guy that he's so fake. Like, his hair's fake, his teeth are fake. He looks like the fucking Wheel of Fortune guy, you know? Like, he just looks fake completely. And his intelligence is obviously fake as well, based on reading this damn bill. Like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever read. So now anytime you make a purchase, you're gonna have to put in your date of birth. Like, what's next? Like, we're gonna put our social security numbers in and hope that doesn't get leaked. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm saying. This is what's wild about this is every single time you do this and you attach like your identity to a product or key or whatever, the only thing that the state of California is doing by doing this is they're trying to offset their liability and say, well, you put your date of birth in on this computer that you bought, so if your kid watches um something they're not supposed to watch on the internet, we could trace that now back to you and make you even more liable for being a parent, you know? Um, and that's the thing. I mean, I think anybody who has kids will tell you straight up, like, you can try to control your kids to some degree, but like at the same time, they're like, at the same time, there's a limit, right? Like, they're they need to have freedom to do the things, to figure things out on their own. But like, also, like, no parent's perfect. Eventually, like, they're gonna find a way to weasel their way around like whatever thing that you have, like parental lock or whatever you have on, whatever thing, um and they're gonna get around it, and then you're just gonna have to learn to kind of like deal with it, right? um and I think that's fairly easy to pinpoint, right? Like, with most parents, because I think most parents, and I think this is a even bigger issue. I think most parents try to do that. They try their best to do that. But then you also have all these goofy companies out there like Best Buy that are like, oh, you want the premium install package because you don't want your kids going to adult websites. Okay, so we're going to charge you, $500 a month. We're going to put it on your Best Buy gift card, on your credit card. We're going to run a line of credit in your name, and you're gonna keep paying for this for the rest of your life, and blah blah blah. And we'll give you black tie service and rip you off, and treat you like, um, treat you like trash, and basically just sell you a service that you don't really need, whatsoever. And then worse, what'll happen is eventually Best Buy will do what they always do, right? They'll inshitify the service to such a degree that you'll end up canceling, and then you'll cancel because you're mad, right? That, about the service or whatever. And then when they do that, then it's like, oh, see, yeah, he broke the contract, and whatever, whatever. So we don't have to give him a refund or whatever, right? Like, that's what these companies always do. They always do like some scummy, like, crappy thing. They just treat you like a number. Like, they don't treat you like a customer. I mean, I should know. I used to work for Best Buy. Like, it's just the way that they always are, right? Like, they treat you like a pay pig. The second you walk in the door, the salesman, the floor salesman's over there rubbing his palms together, thinking about how all he's going to sell you, gold plated HDMI connectors and, you know, black tie protection and, you know, some other service bullshit that you're probably never going to use. And that's just the way it is, right? Like, but that's the problem. Like, how do you keep up with that level of demand for people who have kids who need this sort of stuff done and don't know how to do it themselves, or just don't have the time or the resources or whatever? You know what I mean? This is where I think, like, I hate the fact that like computer repair has been turned into like a service. Like, I used to run my own computer repair company for a while, and it sucks because you're at an extreme disadvantage when it comes to running a company by yourself, mostly because you don't have all the, you know, you don't have a team of lawyers. So like if you do something, you know, even slightly wrong, or you like skip a step, you know, in like covering your own ass, like whether it's contractually or whatever, um like you could be on the hook for all that. You know what I mean? Like, and I've had that happen before. Like, you know, I've had customers, and this is like way, 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 way back in the day. I had a customer who had like clearly installed a virus on his computer, and I think we asked his wife or something. He wasn't in the room at the time, and we're like, "Hey, this toolbar you have on your browser it's a straight up virus. Like, it's stealing your credit card information." And so, anyways, like, she said yes, but he didn't say yes. And then when he logged back in later, he was pissed off that the virus toolbar thing was gone, and then like turned around and like threatened to sue us and didn't want to pay us. And well, me, I'm the owner, uh or was the owner rather. And I mean, that's just the way it is, man. Like, they treat you like actual crap. They don't understand from their perspective. And then not only that, but they'll go out of their way to like weasel out of paying the bill, right? And they even think it's like these sorts of people, they think that this is like them doing you a favor because they're such narcissists. They think this is them doing you a favor by teaching you a hard lesson about the real world. Yeah, that's what they think. Like, I remember, and it's funny because I remember once I saw that dude again in the future, and he like tried to play it off like that was the situation, and I was like, "Nah, dude, you're just a scumbag. You just ripped off like a small business, and you just basically didn't pay for the labor. Like, you're just a shitty little communist, and you think like because you got to pull one over, it's all good or whatever." And it's like, no, like that hurt my business. And then not only did it hurt my business, you know, like it hurt my pay and my finances directly, and basically made it to the point where the business just didn't shake out, right? All because he wanted to be a scumbag. And then worst case, it's like, okay, cool, like I could have gone back and like sued him or whatever in small claims court. But, you know, there's also the off chance that like doing that like would have turned out horribly for me, and then maybe I would have had to pay like for legal stuff and all that stuff, and it would have just sank me even further in debt, right? So it really just, it wasn't worth it. And it's funny because when you're a small business like that, like, just everything, every single thing that you can possibly imagine is geared against you. And this bill that you're seeing right here is exactly that. So like now if you go out and you invent like some sort of peripheral, um and you attach like a small little like miniature operating system to it, now you know, some kid gets into something that they're not supposed to, well, you know, now it's your fault, and now you're liable for whatever it is that that kid got a hold of. You know what I mean? Because you didn't ask them to enter, you know, a bunch of numbers on a screen or whatever, you know. And that's the thing. This is California just morally grandstanding and morally posturing themselves and doing literally nothing of value. Like, this is just virtue signaling from like a policy position, and it's stupid. And I'll be honest with you, like I just don't know. Like, I don't understand how this dude keeps winning. Who is voting for Gavin Newsom? Like, please tell me that. Maybe we haven't done a good enough job. Maybe we need to go physically shame people, like just shame them old school style, like Game of Thrones style, out in the streets, and just be like, what the hell are you thinking, dude? Like, what are you just trying to burn it all down at this point? Like, why do you keep voting for this complete idiot over and over and over? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, this dude's over here paying for crack addicts to have like a place to sleep. Meanwhile, your house burned down in the Palisades, and he's just yucking it up with his buddies, like, like nothing ever happened. So yeah, I mean, I just don't get it. Like, why the hell do you guys keep voting for this? Like, this is basically like what, the third time now. He's basically just proven that he's not doing anything of actual value at all whatsoever for anybody in California. He's not serving you as a constituent. He's not helping you. He's not a politician. He's just a scumbag who's stealing from you. And then he's stealing your taxes and giving it to a bunch of crackheads. And then acting like, look at his virtue or whatever, right? Like, which is hilarious in and of itself, because he's literally stealing the money from you, the taxpayer, to give to the crackheads, right? So the only thing he did was he just reached into your wallet, stole your money, your hard-earned money, and your labor, and gave it to crackheads. That's what he did. So I don't, like, again, I don't get it. I don't understand, I don't understand how Gavin Newsom's still in office. I don't understand how he's not in prison. Like, so many people were so upset about Donald Trump over like the lamest thing in the world. And Gavin Newsom could, like, I don't even know. Like, he could commit a terrorist act on US soil and everybody would still keep voting for this like weird fake TV show host. Like, not even a real TV show host, like a fake Timu version of like the Wheel of Fortune host. Like, I don't get it. I mean, I don't know who's voting for this guy, but this guy's an idiot. And like I said, all this does is this hampers innovation. So anytime something new gets made now, guess what? California is not going to get it. You're not going to get the new cool edgy device that you've been waiting for. That new iPhone pre-order. Nope. You got to wait, because we got to make the special California edition, so you can enter a bunch of numbers in and fake your age, and go in on your phone and look up a bunch of fake stuff, and things you probably shouldn't be looking at. I mean, that's really what this is. It's just California just taking a bat to the knees of innovation. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Y'all take it easy and have a good week. All right? Bye.
How do you